Hamas reports more than 240 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli shelling in Gaza in the last 24 hours.
At least 6 civilians have died in Ukraine following fresh Russian drone attacks.
Hamas reports that 241 Palestinians have been killed in the last 24 hours in Israeli shelling. Meanwhile, the Israeli army announced the death of 5 soldiers in Gaza, bringing to 161 the number since the 27th of October.
צה"ל קרוב להשלמת פירוק גדודי חמאס בצפון הרצועה. היא מתקיימת בשטח מורכב. לכן המלחמה תימשך עוד חודשים רבים, ואנחנו נפעל בשיטות שונות, כך שההישג יישמר לאורך זמן.
Israel returned bodies recovered from northern Gaza to Palestinian officials on Tuesday, with a trailer truck bringing dozens of the dead in blue body bags.
فنحن لا نستطيع في داخل حي مسكون في داخل هذه المنطقة بفتح هذه الثلاجة أو الكونتينر للتعامل معه، ونحن نتواصل مع أصحاب الشأن للنقل إلى المقبرة، ومن هناك سيكون بإذن الله تعالى التوثيق عبر وزارة الصحة الفلسطينية ووزارة العدل لتوثيق جرائم حرب ضد جيش الاحتلال الإسرائيلي.
4 days after the adoption of a resolution demanding the large-scale delivery of humanitarian aid to Gaza, the UN has appointed Sigrid Kaag to coordinate this mission.
6 people have died in fresh Russian drone attacks on Ukraine. 1 person has died at a train station in Kherson, where more than 100 civilians were waiting for a train to Kyiv. The shelling has left 70% of the town's homes without electricity. Despite the devastation, one resident says Kherson will endure.
Я бачила, як його будували. Я жила, народилась в Херсоні, жила в Херсоні. Серце крається. Але тепер я ще більш переконуюсь, що Херсон вистоїть. От саме після таких ударів сильних, потужних, після яких хочеться спочатку плакати, а потім береш себе в руки і знаєш точно, що ми вистоїмо. Приберемо все, потім позашивають вікна, вокзал, я думаю, і далі буде функціонувати.
In Odessa, another drone strike killed 2 people and injured 3 others, according to regional authorities. The air offensive comes 1 day after Ukrainian warplanes damaged a Russian ship on the coast of Crimea.
In a war with no end in sight, it is still possible to bring Christmas joy to the Ukrainian front line. The Kropub Public Center in Kropyvnytsky collected gifts for the soldiers, essential goods, tactical equipment and more to boost morale.
Веземо подарунки від наших діток з міста Кропивницький. Ми хочемо привітати наших хлопців, трохи їм підняти бойовий дух. Ми припинили рахувати ці поїздки, кількість їх, тому що кожна поїздка для нас, вона, скажімо так, робиться серцем. І з кожною поїздкою ми віддаємо частинку своєї душі і тепла тим, хто захищає нас на передовій.
Santa Claus here is called Ola Yenev, a driver who has been making deliveries to Ukrainian soldiers since 2014. This year he takes smiles to the east of the country, which he hopes will last until his next delivery.
9 protests have taken place since Serbia's alleged irregular general election results earlier this month, the latest last night. Protesters are also demanding the release of at least 30 students who were detained whilst protesting on Sunday. The election is highly contested. There have been claims of ballot box stuffing and vote buying. The coalition Serbia Against Violence is demanding the elections be annulled. The Electoral Commission announced on Wednesday that the election would be rerun in some polling stations.
Security measures have been strengthened in crowded areas over the Christmas period in the Vatican, in light of international recent events and the risk of terrorist attacks. Italian authorities warn of a higher risk of jihadi attacks amid the Gaza war and eco-activists seizing the occasion to stage headline-grabbing stunts. Precautionary measures were also taken in Germany and Austria.
Zur Zeit, wie Jesus geboren ist, war es auch nicht sehr friedlich. Also das ist nicht was Neues. Was gut ist, dass unsere Exekutive so wachsam ist, dass man genau hinschaut. Ich fühle mich ganz sicher, aber man muss wirklich aufpassen.
German police said they were taking precautions over Christmas after receiving intelligence of potential terrorist attacks on New Year's Eve.
Wolfgang Schäuble, a legendary former finance minister in Angela Merkel's government, has died. The important figure in German politics passed away at the age of 81 on Tuesday evening. One of the architects of the country's reunification, as the former German chancellor called him, had been paraplegic since 1990 after being shot. He was appointed as finance minister just before Greece's ballooning budget, earning him both praise and condemnation. Lee Sung-kyun, best known for his role in the Oscar-winning film Parasite, was found dead this Wednesday. The 48-year-old South Korean actor was found inside a car in a park in the center of Seoul. According to South Korean news agency Yonhap, he left a suicide note to his family. Lee was being investigated by the police for allegedly using marijuana and other psychoactive drugs. Nearly 60 French actors and other prominent figures have denounced what they say is the lynching of disgraced cinema legend Gérard Depardieu, who faces a series of sexual assault allegations. More than 50 actors, directors, singers and writers have signed an article in French newspaper Le Figaro defending Depardieu. The signatories call for the presumption of innocence to be respected and for the actor not to be boycotted. Gérard Depardieu is probably the greatest of all actors, the letter said.
In Germany, the inhabitants of several regions, especially Thuringen and Lower Saxony, were forced to leave their homes on Christmas Day due to heavy rains that caused water levels to rise and consequent flooding. The governor of Thuringen warned that it could take several days before people can return home.
Werden die Menschen wahrscheinlich 3 Tage sich darauf einrichten müssen, nicht in ihre Häuser zu können. Sie können erst zurückkehren, wenn die Keller ausgepumpt sind, wenn der Strom wieder angestellt wird und auch der Anschluss an die Kläranlagen wieder funktioniert.
In Czechia, some regions continue to be hit by flooding. Some areas are still on high alert and most of the country is expecting water levels to rise. Rainfall, but also melting ice, according to local authorities, are responsible for this phenomenon. In Prague, some ferries are not operating and people are not allowed on the embankments. In the Netherlands, water levels are also particularly high. Authorities and volunteers are monitoring the unusual situation. In some places, water is several meters above normal.
Imprisoned Russian opposition figure Alexei Navalny said on Tuesday that he was, quote, doing well after a transfer to a remote prison colony in the Russian Arctic. His fate concerns the West and his family, who believe he was sent there to be further isolated before upcoming presidential elections.
Там нет ни ФСИН-письма, ни зоны телекома, то есть практически невозможно связываться с заключенным напрямую. Но это все указывает на то, что они намеренно отправили его именно в эту колонию, именно для того, чтобы изолировать Алексея как можно больше, чтобы не давать ему никакой возможности общаться с внешним миром.
Karp, a small town of about 5,000 inhabitants, is located in Yamalo-Nenetsia, a remote region in the north of Russia, beyond the Arctic Circle. France have denounced the transfer as a violation of human rights. Navalny, a former lawyer, is serving a 19-year prison sentence for charges of extremism. He was arrested in January 2021 on his return from convalescing in Germany for poisoning, which he blames on the Kremlin.
Lyon's Lumiere Institute welcomed a famous filmmaker, perhaps the greatest living documentary filmmaker of them all. Frederick Wiseman, with almost 50 films to his credit, came in person at age 93 to present his new film Menu Plaisir Les Trois Gros. a 4-hour film that takes its audience on a journey of what the day-to-day life is like at the 3 Michelin-star restaurant Les Trois Gros, a world-famous restaurant not far from Lyon, behind which lies a family dynasty of great chefs from father to son.
I think the Trois Gros, César and Michel are artists, and what you see is their art being produced, even though it's ephemeral and it's consumed quickly. But they are artists in every sense of the word that painters or writers are artists.
As in all Frederick Wiseman films, there's no commentary, no interviews, no sound, and no additional music. He writes films and edits them himself.
Et puis après, on a notre fille Marion, qui elle travaille plutôt dans l'hôtellerie, et Marie-Pierre, bien entendu, mon épouse, qui chapeaute tout ça, voilà.
Tous les aspects de tournage étaient un plaisir pour moi, parce que c'était un travail. Moi, j'ai vu leur travail, et c'est aussi dur de tourner un film comme ça, parce qu'on travaille 12 heures par jour. Et après, quand on revient à la maison, on voit les rushs. Et comme ça, les documentaires sont une forme de sport. On doit être dans un bon état physiquement.
C'est classique, c'est du prestige.
The result is worthy of a 3-star meal. The film received a standing ovation at Venice and will be released in France and Europe on December 20th.